I'm just gonna get right into it. Here with our special guest, Mr. X, also going by the name of Chris Rocheleau. Some of you guys know him from the good old BTC days, and let me tell you this: we spoke last night for a while, and all I can say is that tonight you are truly about to be mind blown. I'm still mind blown from what I was taught yesterday, and it wasn't everything. And what you're gonna learn is branding, but not the way that it's taught, what you think it is, because you're gonna learn really about your personal brand and a brand that can, if I say this, I'm saying this correctly, go beyond you and allow you to still change the person, because you're not gonna stay the same. You got to have it where you can still grow and your brand can outgrow you, but something that still allows people to attach like their own meaning to it. And I can tell you this much: we're gonna learn applies to basically anything, contents, your blogs, videos. It doesn't matter. It's applicable to everything else. And I can tell you this much: like, after learning what I learned last night, I was like, how the fuck did I go through a whole year without knowing this, or even thinking about, like, I'm dead serious to say this, because now my marketing is flipped like upside down, and it's never gonna be the same. And I can guarantee you this much: after tonight's training, you're not gonna be the same person. I guarantee that. So, Mr. Rocheleau, sir, kind friend, mentor, I hand over to you.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And yeah, man, we've been on here talking for the last couple of minutes. I got a chance to, meet everyone here and talk with everyone, and I just appreciate the chance. Me and Matt, I've been, some of you may have heard that, I've been kind of working with Matt a little bit, here and there, and helping him out, just kind of saying, like, look, there's certain things here that you need to be aware of, coming up as you grow into this leadership role that you're growing into, and developing a successful team, and things like that, as well as marketing stuff to help him understand how to not only make this work for himself, but for the team and everybody there that they can take advantage of. And so, I like this role a little better, where, my days have now, a lot of you may have known me from, Team Be the Change and the BTC days and such. And so a lot of you know, if you've been following anything with me lately, most of my time has switched out of this industry into a lot of consulting with companies, with, people who are creators and creating information products and doing things like that, where I do a lot of consulting most of the time. And my journeys have taken me into places that I've learned things that I hadn't ever thought about before, and discovered things that I realize now are really things that, for lack of a better word, run the world. And so some of the cool stuff here that I've been talking with Matt about, we were having a conversation, and I said to him, look, let me just run by you some of these things that are some very common misconceptions in the industry, and some things that people keep from you that don't really, it's not being taught in this industry. And let me run this by you and see how this looks. And like you guys heard his response, it was he was like, I can't believe that this isn't being taught. And so I remember it was about 4 years ago. There was a time when Dave Wood was doing the same thing, teaching things that nobody had taught before. And I was right there behind him, like, look, man, you just got to show these people. You got to tell these people, because there's all these people in this industry that are in this, operating from this fear of loss consciousness, that are not essentially giving people what they need and helping them grow. They're essentially like telling them the lie, which is, the lie is, hey, look at me, I'm the savior, I'm awesome, and I'm going to create a system for you that all you have to do is go press some buttons, and it's going to work for you, and you're going to make money for the rest of your life. Complete, total, and utter bullshit, right? And so what I'm going to do tonight is actually break down some of the things that these people that create the successful systems do, and how you're able to leverage those the right way, as well as create that following and that responsiveness for yourself, and not just the system that you use. So hopefully that makes sense. And with that, I'm just going to get into some of this stuff here. Unless, real quick, if anyone else here on the call, on the Hangout here, has any thoughts or any words, I'd like to throw it around real quick before we get rolling. Looks like everyone's...
I'm excited.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think we want to waste our time with our breath. You go ahead and dive right into it there, Chris. We appreciate it.
All right, cool. Yeah, so one of the other things here, just to reassure people tonight, some of you who know me from, the BTC days, we like to call it, know that, I'm long-winded, and I used to do like 3-hour hangouts. And, Matt was like, Chris, if you come on and train, it can't be like this long-winded 3-hour, dissertation on stuff. And I essentially looked at him and was like, Matt, it ain't that kind of party. I don't have all night either. Okay, so we're going to get right into tactics and strategy and what goes on here with this stuff and just break it down for you. So that's all right with everyone. I'm just going to quickly hop over, look at the comments, see if we got any other quick comments. Okay, cool. So feel free, anyone in there who's watching, if you want to enter any questions, I want to get a bead on what people are feeling, what they're thinking they need, what they want to learn, what they feel they're missing. I was talking with Max a little bit here earlier, and he was talking about, it seems like we just want to be able to get the missing pieces to the puzzle, to be able to, essentially, put this all together. And so I just want to be able to, get a sense for what people are feeling they need here, so that as I go through some of this stuff, I can custom tailor and some of that to your questions and respond some of those questions directly. So feel free to do that. Put that in the comments. No problem. Looking forward to it. And let's have some fun tonight. So let's get into this. All right. So one of the first things here is one of the most commonly held things that I'm going to go right for the jugular here, right from the start, really, and then we'll just go from there. It's kind of my shoot first, ask questions later approach. And so how I look at this is the first part is positioning, or AKA branding, right? And let's look at that. Okay, so positioning or branding. I did spell that right. Look at that. There is hope for me after all. So positioning and branding, a lot of people are like, hey, you need to be branded. You need to have this authority established. You need to have this credibility, and you need to have a unique way that you stand out, that people will remember you, and you need to remember what they feel and what sense they think about you when they hear your name, and so it makes you memorable, right? And I look at that, and personally, I laugh my fucking ass off. I think it's ridiculous to think that. I mean, that's like, it's cute thought, really cute thought, and on one level, kind of logically could make some sense. It seems like a great idea at the time. Is really what I'm getting at, right? And so, but let's look quickly at what you're actually supposed to accomplish with positioning and branding. Okay, so for one, what you're doing here is, when you're branding and positioning yourself, you want to be able to display a few things that make people responsive to you. So let's reverse engineer the actual end result you want from your positioning and branding, okay? You want responsiveness. Responsiveness. You also want people to see you as an authority. So you're creating an element of authority. You're creating an element of credibility. You're also creating trust. Okay, you probably can't read my writing because the week we did the penmanship training in kindergarten, I was sick that week, and so my handwriting is absolutely horrible. So take notes, all right? For those of you who don't have a notebook in front of you, open up a notepad, and there you go. Right on, buddy. Right on, Max. Love it. See what leaders do? Follow that right there. Take notes on this stuff. It's important. And pull up a notepad on your computer if you don't have a notebook around you, which you should. And if you don't, go get one and always have it there for future reference. So responsiveness, authority, credibility, and trust, right? Now, the other part about this is you need to have a exclusive factor that is something unique to you. Now, this is where people are like, hey, come up with some cool name that they remember you by. It's the stupidest bullshit in the world, right? So, we'll call this unique and exclusiveness. And maybe that's not the same thing, but I like things in terms of like 3s, 5s, 7s, 9s. Odd. I like odd numbers because I'm an odd number. So that's how I do that. So unique, exclusiveness, kind of the same thing. All right. So what really matters here when it comes to your positioning is getting people to respond, showing that you have expertise or authority in what you're talking about. And by the way, for those of you who are new and have not created any success yet, you're probably wondering, how do I create authority when I don't have any results? Kind of a catch-22, chicken before the egg thing, right? We're going to show you how you leverage other authority and credibility the right way, not the way that annoys the shit out of people, okay? So authority, then credibility, which is similar to authority in a way, but it's not, because authority is where you have the ability to influence someone and say, you should do this, and they listen. Credibility is like, I have this result to show for it. Let my results speak for myself. Or the result I'm giving you from this other person, and I'm giving you their formula. I'm giving you their secrets. I'm giving you their training. Make sense? Okay. So then trust, obviously, and nowhere in branding do you normally hear that, but trust is like, I mean, look at it's foundational. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything. Right? I mean, if you don't, like, I mean, said marketer could be the greatest marketer in the world, but if you don't trust them, you're not buying from them, are you? No, not at all. So then, unique and exclusive. So this is where most of the common fallacies and misconceptions around positioning and branding come in. So, you know, just keep in mind that everyone has a different perspective. We're looking at things from a different light than anyone else. Everybody has a unique perspective, you know, in the world about stuff. They're looking at it from a different angle than somebody else. So the more unique your perspective is, yet still agreeable with other people's perspectives, and we'll teach you how to do that, is the sweet spot where people start to what you call resonate with you, where they understand your perspective. They understand your unique take. They like the way you look at things. They like the way you come across with it. They like the way you essentially break down what it is you're talking about. And the exclusiveness to that is essentially because you're the only one that's bringing it in that way. You see, guys, there is so many people argue about the right and the wrong thing to do in this industry. You know, you have some people that are like, only buy traffic, cold traffic, and that's just the way to do it, and there's nothing else that really works. Blogging is a bunch of BS. And then you have people who are like six-figure income bloggers that are like, blogging is the only way. I don't understand that cold traffic stuff, and you know, they're on the other end of it. And you know, you've had leaders inside this company that have stepped up and told you like blogging is BS. And I have actual verified proof as to, you know, to the contrary. I myself have, you know, created massive success with that. So have many others inside of this system with, you know, an Empower blog. And so, you know, the thing is, what I'm talking about here is your exclusive, unique take on things is what matters. And that's when you move from system responsive to personality responsive. You see, when a system breaks down, what happens? We've seen some of that happen. You've seen a system that something breaks down in their sales funnel, or the message gets saturated, or there's some kind of technical glitch that breaks down the funnel and convert. Either way, the conversions aren't happening anymore. And because of that, people go, oh my God, it doesn't work anymore, and then they jump to some other system. And they continue to look and jump to another system and another system and another system. Now, do I feel that iPass was a successful attempt at, you know, attaching to and resurrecting, you know, essentially, you know, Empower's funnel and what they had going? That remains to be seen. So far, looks so good. There's some certain concerns I have. I'm going to address with Chris Jones about, you know, like when the coaches actually call people and how we need to bump that up rather than having people go through so much training before they do that, and you know, just connecting some of the disconnects in there that I see with that system. To make that work real well, and it'll be fine. But here's the thing. Even if that's the case, even if we don't fix those disconnects, if you can successfully create a proper brand and a proper positioning with your audience, then it doesn't matter what system you're using, because your following, your team is essentially going to continue to follow you wherever you go, whatever you do. and they will continue to be responsive to you. And how you accomplish that is, one of the biggest points is your unique take on things and your confidence and your ability to break down and show your unique take. Because you know what? Nothing new under the sun here. I mean, the tactics change a little bit as, you know, Google and Facebook and all the other major social media platforms change some of the rules, and so we have to adjust a little bit in terms of our traffic generation strategies and such when you're playing in that realm of social media. Other than that, marketing is marketing. You want to know where I learned my marketing? I learned my marketing from the old direct mail sales letter copywriters that lived in the 40s and 50s and 60s. I read their books, and then I transfer that to what I understand about online marketing. So what you find in this industry is a lot of people essentially repeating things that haven't been proven to always work, but so many people repeat it, and when you got enough people repeating something, it seems like a good idea, and so what you have is the blind leading the blind all the time. So let me illustrate this in a way that makes sense in terms of branding and how a lot of people understand it, and then see how you feel about that. So let's do you. So let's say you're branded, and I'm just going to leave this a stick figure because I'm not going to get into whether this is a male or a female and, you know, piss off somebody or anything like that. And we've just got you. And let's say that what you've been taught about branding is someone says, you know, typical, you need to have a, you know, a particular name that you attach yourself to. You need to have a slogan, you know. So, you know, you're the whatever person, or the something, you know, badass, or the something, you know, lady, or, you know, whatever. And, you know, you're like, hey, I'm this person, the whatever. And it's always this, you know, I'm the cool guy, I'm the awesome guy, or whatever, I'm the awesome lady, I'm the awesome girl, you know, something like that. You've got this thing that you want to portray, like a picture that you give somebody with like a cool moniker, a cool name. So let's go with this and say, you know, this is you, and let's say it's the awesome gal. So you've got, like, you know, and that would be your tagline, your essential name, your brand, right? The awesome gal. And obviously that's very, you know, watered down and ridiculous, but you get the idea, right? And so the awesome gal has their thing in there and everything, and all their emails and all their stuff. They're like, hey, it's the awesome gal. It's, you know, my name, the awesome gal, you know, or whatever. And then, you know, their whole slogan is like, hey, look, I'm awesome. Now, I'm kind of making fun of this in a way, and that's totally, purely intentional, because I'm illustrating a point here. The message of that brand is, you know, I'm awesome, and hey, look, I'm pretty awesome, which is essentially identity-based. Okay? Let's keep this in mind. Take a note. Identity-based. And if you run in spiritual circles, they would call that ego, which to me, I feel ego is necessary. Everybody has one. Let's not, you know, act like we're holier than thou about things either. You know, an ego is important. However, when the ego gets out of control and doesn't understand and is fearful and insecure, you get shit like this. Okay? You get shit like this. And you guys can fill in the blanks on any of the other stuff that, you know, you want to, but it's people attempting to make themselves look so great. Now, we'll get into the dark side of this. So, sticking with, you know, Exhibit A, identity of the awesome brand, hey, look, I'm awesome. What happens is people go through this industry and they go through their marketing, and essentially they start buying into their own delusion of this is them. This identifies them. This is who they are. They are the awesome gal, you know? That's who they are. And so what happens is they get to a point to where they fight and struggle to maintain that brand. do you know that some of the biggest personal development gurus and speakers and people in the 80s and 90s that played this role are so burnt out because they're like, I need to uphold my brand. I need to protect my brand. I need to put energy into my brand. I'm this person. That's what I'm known as. If I try to reinvent myself, then people won't look at me the same. And then that brings up the question of, well, do I have integrity now that I'm changing? Or, you know, does the old brand still apply, and all of the value and all of the hard work that I did to build up that brand? And what that does is that people don't want to change that. Now, what I think a lot of you have noticed if you've been inside of Empower any amount of time is people grow quickly. People go through growth processes quicker in this company than you see in just about any other industry in other places. You sure as heck don't see people growing like this at work, at your job. People continually have realizations and shifts, and they grow as a person and realize more about themselves. They realize more about their purpose. They realize more about what they want in their life. They realize more about how they can make a difference and how they can be significant and how they can have contribution to the world. Awesome. Cool. So what if you are stuck in something like this, where Exhibit A says, if I dump this brand, I also dump the following that I have. And the other part about it is the delusion you put yourself under when you attempt to maintain this brand that you have, and it doesn't fully suit you or resonate with you anymore. What happens? It's just like anything else, where you may be being suppressed at your job with your boss, and your boss is an asshole to you. And over time, you feel like you can't express yourself. You can't even have a working conversation with that person. You feel like they don't understand you. You don't feel like you can, your talents and gifts and strengths are being properly utilized at all. And so because of that, your energy goes away, and you start performing at a lower level, and your performance continues to diminish. And you see this in anything in life that you lose your energy for. You lose your passion for, you lose your shwoo, your whole mojo and all of that. If you lose that, then essentially you're fighting a losing battle because you have a little less every single day to go off of. And you've got bosses pushing you to go a little more every day. And at some point, that causes a problem. The same thing goes on with this type of branding. You don't have any energy left after a while because you have grown. You have changed. You have new realizations about who you are. You've transcended, or whatever word you want to attach to it. And now that brand, the awesome gal, all of a sudden doesn't really vibe with you anymore. And you're kind of like, meh. It doesn't give you that charge anymore like you used to have. So I just want to quickly do a quick check-in real quick, one-word check-in with everybody here on the council. If they could just unmute real quick. If this makes any sense, or if they're completely confused, or if this is awesome, or somewhere in the middle, go ahead.
It makes perfect sense. It's like David Bowie. Like literally, like every album was like a different progression of like his musical talents. You know, it's not like the same repetitive. You know, the fifth album sounds like the first album. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be growth involved, and there's got to be evolution involved as well. You know, I think it's the same thing with branding, and I think it's the same thing with basically just evolving as a marketer, as a leader, as a person, as anything else. And it's like, yeah, some people may not agree with, you know, the second or third album, like they really want the first album. But you'll still have a following, and because like the people that remain true to you from the beginning, you'll also attract more and more and more because now you're more just, you've got more attractiveness to you in that sense. Okay.
Yeah. Love it, man. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah. No. This is awesome, Chris. I'm kind of curious. So do you think? who are some big names that you see in the industry who are really struggling, who have had success in the past but are kind of struggling these days with kind of maintaining their brand?
Well, for one, you see that a lot in the personal development niches because they're so personal development based. So a lot of these names, a lot of people wouldn't know. But I mean, you've even seen some of this with where you've had to see, Brian Tracy recreate himself, and you've had to see, let's see, there's a few others in there. John Asseroff had to recreate a lot of himself as well. Lisa Nichols is starting to do that. Now, I've actually talked with Lisa Nichols. I'm going to be seeing her in about 3 weeks or so at an event down in Mexico. I'm going to be talking with her a bit, and I actually teach some of her students as well, and it's going to be an interesting time. But, having some branding conversations with her as well is interesting, how she sees that with people, that being a big thing to overcome because it's been taught for so long this way. And so,
Do you think Tony Robbins fits into this mold, or is he kind of a different kind of brand?
So Tony had to reinvent himself in a particular way because he has grown. However, I'm going to illustrate how he did that successfully, and that's what I'm going to get into here, because you're right there, John. You're tracking right with me, and you're right on the essentially asking the perfect questions of, okay, what's next here then? If not this, then what? And I'm going to start getting into some of that, and I'll illustrate some of that through Tony as well as a few others, and help you get, what is it, how you do that, how you do cross over from the, I'm stuck in this brand to how do I create, a new brand type of thing, and how you make that fluid. And I think a lot of a good thing here was what Max said, was how artists, this is done very well with artists if they do it right, but they have to position it right, each album is kind of like its own brand, and so each album has a particular message, a certain set of visions and values and thoughts and ideas. And so that's kind of what we're going to move towards here, is how you can do that in your marketing as well, and break that down. So stay with me.
Cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool. Anybody else real quick? Okay, I just want to check the, see what people are saying here real quick. Betty Jean Clark, hey, how are you? Awesome. Cool. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So that's the way how not to brand, essentially, because as we listed, the drawbacks are, you can get caught up in your own delusions and your ego and then destroy yourself, which, we see happen from time to time. MC Hammer. Okay, that's a good idea. I think we can all agree there. Everyone's shaking their head like, yeah, kind of one of those very easy ones to point out. And so that's the way that you really want to avoid. Now, how do we avoid that? So, like I was talking about before here a minute ago, and how Max brought up, and how John so eloquently asked the question of, then how do we create these, how do we bridge that? How do we go from, if we have boxed ourselves into a brand, how do we go around that? And so, here we've got, you notice this circle. The circle's around the person, so it's person focused. It's attitude, identity, ego focused. So let's now look at, let's see if I can, okay, do I have room over here on this side? I'm going to go below. So let's say you have a brand, except now, remember what we're looking to accomplish. Responsiveness, authority, credibility, trust, and uniqueness, right? So whenever you are selling something, you want to integrate these things into what you're selling and create kind of a brand around that, even if it's your own unique take of somebody else's product. And I'll get into what I mean here in a sec, but let me show you this. So it's very easy to attack someone who has their slogan and their brand and who they are, and it's like a identity-based brand. It's easy because you can plug holes in them because they're human. They're human. They make mistakes like everybody, right? And so they go through this progression, and people watch them grow, watch them change, watch them, dismally fall, from a high ego once they fed their ego enough to realize, hey, I really am awesome, and they believe their own delusions of grandeur, stuff like that. So here's the way that you get around that to where you don't have to face attacks anymore like that. So let's take all of these things and let's create a marketing message around that now becomes a thought form, okay? And now you've got vision, ideals, and directives about where you're going and what you're doing. Now all of a sudden, this, because it's outside of you, becomes something that nobody can poke holes into. Nobody can attack this, because it's like, how can you attack, something that talks about this altruistic idea of helping everybody, empowering everybody, showing people how to get in the black, showing people how to build profitable businesses, all that stuff. You can't attack that. And if you do, you look like an asshole. Right? You look like a total jerk. You're like, oh, you're that guy or that girl that's actually going to do that. So what I would suggest is this is how people can actually create multiple brands and keep multiple brands going at the same time. Because if you put this outside of yourself and it becomes a thought form and a vision, which is defined by a symbol or a formula or a framework, which we'll get into each one of those, then people remember it because that's how they associate images and feelings in their head as some kind of a picture, and they associate a feeling to it, which is where symbols come in. And if you can do that, then it's not based upon a particular person who, for all measures, we're human and we all make mistakes. And someone can find something to point in, to poke in anybody. I don't care who you are. It's easy. We're human. And if you think you're not, then that's another conversation, right? And so what we want to do here, how do we accomplish this? So this is where you move from I'm the awesome guy to I am the founder or creator of team this, or this system, or this brand, or this course, or this product, or whatever. But what you're going to do is you're going to take all the things, which is why I was asking and talking with some of the leaders here on the hangout here before we got on public, was like, hey guys, I want to hear your values about what you value and where you see the team going, and why is it that you want to be here, and what is it about this team, what is it about this whole movement that you have here that is going to accomplish that. And so when you take those things and you put them into something, you have something people can attach to that you can't poke at. Now, there's twofold here. One way of looking at this is people are like, okay, well, awesome, we have team in the black. Perfect. Yes. What we need to do is develop the vision, ideals, and directives and get very, very clear about that, and they're already getting there. You guys are already, you've got that. And so it would just only be a matter of kind of clearing up that message if you don't already have it perfect, which I haven't personally looked at, but I'm sure it's real good, and it'll probably get even better. And so when you take that vision of the team, the ideals you stand for, and the directives of what you do for people, then you can attach that to something that people can attach to and leverage. Okay? So let's say you've got, this is, ITB. Just horrible. ITB. Yeah. So ITB. All right? Now, ITB stands for a certain set of things and a certain set of principles and ideas and what you want to accomplish. And the cool thing is about this is that that's ever constantly evolving. You can change that based on market conditions, based on whatever values that people grow into and what the majority of the movement and the people involved need. So it's ever evolving. which is why, like, for me, my new movement, is called a mastermind, because it's like, hey, people contribute. We want to mastermind and bring ideas out of this. And what I did with my mastermind concept is that presupposes that a mastermind comes up with higher ideas and better ideas because it's everybody connected. And so that allows for things, visions, ideals, and directives to continue to evolve and change and grow without someone saying, oh, you've changed. Where when they look at you and you try to do that, they're like, oh, you sold out. You changed. What happened to this message? We like this message. And that person may not have grown, but you have. So you have a disconnect when that happens. But when you have it here, it's different. And so there's two elements to this, not just one, because I'm talking about one element right now. And this is the authority, credibility, and responsiveness of this whole part, which is the brand or the vision, ideas, and directives that you subscribe to, which is under the umbrella of Team in the Black right now, which can continually evolve, which is awesome. So you have this, and it can accomplish all the credibility, authority, and responsiveness because you have a team of leaders here. And every member of Team in the Black can say in their videos and in their sign-offs, in their emails, or in their blog posts and their signatures, or wherever else you want to put your signature for whatever type of messaging that you are doing, you can say, member of Team in the Black. Well, that's one element out of a couple, but stay with me. So, for one, you're a member of, and, you can even use descriptive words like, founding member, which means, you may have been here from the inception of Leaders 57, Team in the Black, whatever it was, and you were here from the beginning. So you're now a founding member of Team in the Black, okay? So that attaches authority to you. You may not have had authority, credibility, and responsiveness yet, but now you're attached to something where, you could say something even like certified member of Team in the Black. See what I mean? That's kind of sinking into where that's how you attach to and leverage credibility and authority that you don't have yet. Okay? So you're a part of something. You're a part of a movement. And what do people want? People want to be a part of a movement. They want to attach to people who are moving forward. They want to attach to people who have a vision of where they're going, know where they're going, because that gives certainty in the eyes of the new person. It goes, that person knows where they're going. I am going to ride their coattails all the way there. And that's the type of, that's when you develop influence. That's the responsiveness you need, okay? So now, how do we build trust and unique and exclusiveness? That cannot be accomplished by any team or any brand out there. Over time, a brand that is established has trust and unique exclusiveness, but not from the beginning. So how do you do that? Well, this is the great part that's a little unique about the network marketing world, where you have layers upon layers of leaders and then people, coming up through leadership and attaching to a leveraged message that works well. We call them systems. And the other part about this, because Team in the Black can be a system as well, a system to attach to a system that makes the whole thing work. However you want to frame it doesn't matter. But that's the system part. Now, the personality part, the trust and the uniqueness, exclusiveness. That comes in when you have a unique take off of something. So let me give you an example. I have particular ideals. I will actually illustrate what I did over the last year and a half, almost 2 years, that I knew what I was doing, but I didn't really fully understand why it was working, and realizing that that was such a crucial key part, and I should have taught this earlier on. So there's two parts when you have a sign-off message or an introduction message. There's the part that attaches your credibility, authority, and trust. Responsiveness, not trust, credibility, authority, and responsiveness. And that's the, for you guys would be Team in the Black, TITB, or ITB, whatever, right? ITB. I love in the black. That's just awesome. Now, what does that stand for? You know, building profitable business, being in the black. Awesome. So now, the second part, personality. This is your unique take. Your take on said first brand. And that is normally described by a statement that accomplishes three things. It's the action that you do, the target market and the people that you serve, and the benefits they receive. So as I was looking at that, I was talking with Matt last night. Okay, the action you take, the people you're targeting, and the benefits you receive, the benefits you give. So how this would look is member of Team in the Black, where we teach aspiring online business owners. Okay, that's the action part. Teach aspiring online business owners, or teach is the action part. The next part is the target market, aspiring online business owners, to build a profitable business online. Build profitable business online is the benefit. Okay, so let me write these down. You've got the action statement, the target, and the benefit. So, sounds a little something like this. Matt, as an example, might come on his video and say, hey, this is Matt Dillingham, founder of Team in the, co-founder of Team in the Black, where we teach aspiring online entrepreneurs to build a profitable business online. Boom, just like that. And you rattle that off, and it gets easy, and it's automatic, and you say it without almost thinking. Because now you're giving solidarity to the vision, the ideals, and the directives. Okay? Because that's all of those things. You want to help people. You have high ideals about what you want to accomplish and the directives that we do. Well, now you just put that into this. You see, it's like a math equation. Some of you who are left-brain, logical, analytical people will absolutely love this. You'll probably brain-gasm out on this stuff. So this is the numerator, okay? It's like a fraction because it's never the whole. It's never the whole. This can be a bunch of visions, ideals, and directives, but the fact that it's the numerator, part of the equation, it's never complete, which means there's room for growth, room for expansion, room for realization, room for transcendence, room for solving a need, room for solving a problem, whatever the case may be, serving people. Now, this part is the denominator, because this is what gives shape to this. Solidarity. This is something that makes these things that you say, where we teach aspiring online business owners to, build a more profitable business online, or aspiring business owners, say online in there only once, not twice. Doesn't matter, semantics, right? This here is your denominator that gives shape to this. Because then they hear this and they're like, okay, well, what's that about? This here is what you do. That's awesome. All right, now you got my attention. What are you really about? And that's when you get them inside the system and you can expose them to a vision and ideals and directives. So it's like a math equation, a numerator and a denominator. It's like a fraction. Now, is any of that making sense? I want you guys to come out real quick and let me know if this makes sense or if you have any other questions about this before I move forward.
Makes sense to me. It's perfect.
Okay.
Absolutely, Chris. That's mind-blowing, eye-opening. It's good stuff, man. I've got a ton of notes already.
It's evolution at its finest.
Thank you. Cool.
Okay. I told y'all. I told you all. I told you all. I'm done.
Yeah. So now, here's the cool part. You know how I told you that people love symbols? So once you put something into a symbol, people remember it. Because you can always take an idea and a vision and form it into a phrase or a sentence. Now, let's take my old brand of Team Be the Change as an example. You guys are going to love this, and explain to you why that works so well for me. Now, I don't operate under that brand anymore. However, it worked very well, and I'm going to illustrate to you why that worked. Because, for one, when I signed off in my emails or in my blog posts or anything that I did, I was like founder of Team Be the Change. Okay, that was the first part. Now, sometimes I said co-founder because technically, there was one other person involved at the time, and then, Amy and Jordan joined me shortly after. And so, that's my first part. We're like on a video, I'll come out and say, hey, this is Chris Rocheleau, founder of Team Be the Change. Boom. Okay, that's the first part. That's the responsiveness, authority, credibility thing. Because it's a team, and it's got an idea there attached to it. And people are like, what is that? So that's one part. But then here's what I also did. I took that whole idea of Be the Change, and I chunked it and distilled that thought into a formula. Okay? So some of you may have seen this, some of you may have not. But I had these stickers. If you guys were at the Denver event or some of the other events, you'll notice that a lot of my team members they had this formula on T-shirts and other stuff as well. But it was, make sure people can see this here, it was B equals TC cubed. Now, that's really easy to figure out. Being equals the change times 3. We had 3 liters. No more than that. But it looked kind of cool. And it was some kind of mathematical formula, something that gave solidarity, similar to a numerator and a denominator. Because that's defining something, a numerator and denominator. But this is what David Wood refers to in his forthcoming mass influence formula course, known as a complex equivalent, which means this equals this, which is simply saying if this, then that. If you have this, then you have that. That's simple. Which may not be the case, but because you say it, the brain associates it that way. So what I did is we called this the BTC formula. And that symbol was purveyed around my emails, blog posts, and all that other stuff, and videos, whatever I was doing. So what I did was, because it actually happened where me, Amy, and Jordan were in Hawaii, and we were all in the ocean at Waimea Bay. And we're in the water, and we're talking about we got to come up with a formula. We got to come up with some kind of a formula that people love that they can attach to. And we were like, well, what's from Be the Change? What can we do? And we were like, well, let's keep it simple. Okay, let's take those letters, BTC. Okay, well, all right, cool. How can we make that look cool? Oh, well, let's make it a complex equivalent. Okay, B equals TC. There's 3 of us, so let's make it cubed. That looks kind of cool. Awesome. And we're all just floating in the water. And we got like this. We were all like, oh, my God, we just got divine inspiration. Whatever it was, it worked, right? So what I did was my sign-offs and how I identified myself to people was co-founder of Team Be the Change and co-creator of the BTC formula. 2 parts. And so if I was to say those 2 things, then the last part would be the action, target, benefit. Where I said, particularly for me, was set people free in their minds, remind them of who they really are, and inspire them to be the change they want to see in the world. And that was my 3-pronged definition to being the change. People loved it. People resonated with it. You couldn't poke holes in it. What are you going to do? Say being the change is a bunch of bullshit? You look like an asshole if you do that. Because it's just an idea. It's an ideal. And because we gave solidarity to it and a symbol, people remember it. And it seems important. Now, I just want to give you a symbol to illustrate how powerful this actually is. See if any of you know this one. Stop me if you know this one, or at least shout it out. Anybody?
Is that a personality quadrant? No,
Close.
way off.
Very close.
All right.
Anybody else?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was too. So
How many of you are familiar with Robert Kiyosaki? Max is like, yes, I got it.
It's employee, business owner, self-employed, or investor.
Right.
Yeah.
This was a book by Robert Kiyosaki that came right after his book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it was called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And anybody who has read that book will forever remember that symbol. As Max just pointed out, employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. And the whole book is about those four things and defining what each one is and how you move from one to the other and the rules that apply to each one of those. That's called a framework. That's a formula. They can be one and the same. It's a symbol. It gives solidarity to a vision and an idea and a directive. It's how you organize your thoughts. When you start to do this, you'll find people being responsive to you. And you see, when you say that you are the co-creator of or the creator of a particular set of ideas, whatever that may be, then it makes you seem like you have originated something. And all it is your unique take. You see, I wasn't the one that said be the change you want to see in the world. That was Gandhi. But my unique take of being the change was what I would talk about on every hangout. And I'd illustrate points about how you see that in this industry and why that works. And then I would say, that's being the change. People are like, oh, okay. And because I said I was the co-creator of the BTC formula, people were like, ooh, must be something special there. So what I'm going to suggest to all of you is Team in the Black has a certain set of visions and ideals and directives. And the cool part is because it's this and it's not defined completely by a person, that means you all have your own unique take on what Team in the Black is. And that means you can attach your own words and your own ideals and what it means to you into a symbol or a formula or a framework or whatever you want. And that's the part about branding that shows the because out of all of this, which is the uniqueness and the exclusiveness, because that perspective is exclusive to you, then a person sees that and goes, no one else has that. That's unique. It's exclusive. I want to be part of that. I want to know what that is. I want to understand that. I got to get closer to this person. So now you've leveraged the member of Team in the Black, where you teach online, where you teach aspiring business owners to, build a profitable business online. And now the co-creator or the creator of, and then create a framework. And that can be very simple. Let's create one right now. The 3 biggest things about building a profitable business. Okay, profitability. Being in the black means that you're a responsible business owner. So, that means you're running your own business. So, it's like being able to make your own decisions. Being in the black, you did it on your own. So, independence. Let's get one more. Responsibility, because you're in the black, so it means you're a responsible business owner. So we've got independent and responsible, and what was the first one? My brain's already starting to pull away. Matt, what was the first one you said?
Profitability.
Okay, so profitability. So profitability, independence. I'm going to write these down before I forget stuff again. Profitability, independence, and let's see. Responsibility's kind of cool, but it's not too sexy. So,
Accountability.
there we go. Accountability. Perfect. Love that, Max. Thank you. I can already tell you and I would be very good friends.
Yeah, it's not just good looks and charm, Chris. Like, there's brains to this.
All right. So profitability, independence, accountability. So what do we have? Let's be simple about this. Let's use an acronym. Okay. We've got a combination we can try. We've got P, I, and A. So we could do IPA, AIP, PIA, whatever the case may be. And let's put that into some kind of framework. Let's put it into some kind of a deal. So you've got 3 letters here, and let's just do something that, let's use a symbol, and this is how easy this shit is. You just make this shit up, okay? But it's like it means something to you, so you're going to be able to explain whatever it is. This is the great part about it, and that's why people continue want to opt in and find out what's going on about this as you talk about these ideals and visions and directives. So PIA. So let's just do IPA because a lot of people associate that with beer, IPAs, right? So let's do IPA, and let's put that into a 3-pronged approach. So let's do, because it's kind of like, let's do 3 prongs, almost like a pitchfork, IPA. And you've got a little symbol, IPA. I mean, that is like really elementary and ridiculous at the same time. People are like, what the fuck is that? Right? So what I'm saying is, now you can call it the IPA principle, the IPA formula, the IPA application, the IPA whatever, right? The IPA, formula, all of them. I mean, you can use formula, principle, application, directive, movement, What you could call it the IPA movement, because you're moving forward in profitability and independence and accountability. So now all of a sudden you are a member of Team in the Black and co-creator or creator of the IPA movement.
Recipe.
IPA recipe. Perfect.
Good beer.
You know what, Max? Me and you are going to have some IPAs together. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So now you guys are getting this, right? Is this making sense?
Perfect. I like movement better than recipe, though. That's just me.
The IPA movement. Yeah. I'll go with movement. But you could be like, the IPA recipe for success or whatever. Like, this is the recipe for, profitability, independence, accountability, whatever. Here's the good news. You frame it however you want to, put whatever little symbol you want to, and make it yours. And attach what you feel to what ITB stands for. And now all of a sudden your video says, hey, this is Chris, I'm a member of, let's see. Hey, this is Chris Rocheleau, founding member of Team in the Black, and the creator of the IPA movement, where we should profitable business online. Let me tell you about my latest blog post. Let me tell you about our latest thing. I have one thing I want to share with you today. Whatever, you know. So that right there establishes credibility. But wait, there's more. I love saying that. So anyways, I'm going to erase some of this. So some of you may want to take screenshots of this myriad mess of stuff. And so you may want to do that now. And obviously you have it, you know, recorded, so you can always go back and look at this stuff. Because I'm going to need to erase a little bit of this. Now what I'll do is I'll erase this. Maybe I can keep the rest of this for now. Let's just create the whole, let's take away the whole awesome thing. I think you guys get that by now, that that's just a bunch of bullshit, and we don't need it. So we'll keep the responsiveness stuff. And action, target, benefit, that'll work too. Okay, so I can work with this up here. All right, cool. So, part 2. That's essentially how you can start to position yourself in a nutshell. Now, quickly, actually, before we move on, now that I've completed these thoughts about how to create a brand within a brand and attach and leverage from a brand that you have that is not based on an ego or an identity, but based on vision and values, anybody here have any thoughts real quick before we move on to how you actually apply some of this into some of your content and what you're doing? And I'm going to check the questions here, too, in the chat.
So Chris, are you kind of suggesting that that as a leadership group we create this, or are you suggesting that people kind of do it on their own to create their own individual brand within the team?
So very interesting thing here. Now I love this because this gets to the core of a few things here. So let's go quickly back to the 2 things that I talked about in the beginning, which is system responsive followings and personality responsive followings. You see, if you don't create a personality responsive following based on vision, ideals, and directives, then people default to the only thing they know, which is the system they're operating with, and they become system responsive. Now, in the past, what you've seen and what we've witnessed, which I alluded to earlier, was the fear of loss consciousness about how people want to control people and control their teams, and feeling that if they enabled and empowered their people too much, they would leave them, and then that person would lose their income, right? And that's like a concern for some big leaders, is they're like, I have a big team. If I start showing them how to do all this stuff, they'll be like, oh, well, I can just go and, you know, do this on my own. Well, in all reality, they can't, because they don't know how to build systems and understand why they convert, because then you have to be a master copywriter, understand video sales letters, understand how to put systems together, have money to invest, infrastructure, lawyers, all the stuff that goes along with it. And you don't want to go that route. A lot of you don't. There's no reason to, right? Maybe eventually, if you want to go and do a product or something way down the line, and you still got to deal with lawyers and all the stuff that you got to do to get that set up. So people aren't going to go and do that kind of thing. It's just in the fear of people who have created, you know, a team of people, and they've just, it's a fear of loss to basically take them out of that and go, no, you can do all this stuff, you don't need me. Well, I'm not saying that either, because remember, to make this formula work, there's 2 parts. You're attaching to the vision, ideals, and directives of a team, because when you're new, you don't have that.
Right.
Okay? And I don't know about you, but Empower's made me a lot of money in the last couple of years. And there's no reason for me to be like, oh, I don't need that anymore. That would be stupid. So you've got that first part that as a leader, you want to be able to create the best vision, the best ideals, the best directives, continue to evolve and change and grow and serve the people as you go, because that makes them want to continue to stay there and be served, rather than trying to test the waters and be like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side, or go find another savior because they're not being served. But when you try to make it about you with your ego, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing, John, I'm just, I'm speaking to everybody here, then that's what eventually happens, which is where that fear consciousness comes in, because leaders have had that happen. They're like, okay, I need to control my team. I'm going to tell them just to do these few things, click these few buttons, I'll do the rest. They just go buy traffic. We bring people into the system, and awesome. And they don't empower their people to actually run a business that makes them personality responsive. Because when you teach people that, your team won't fall apart. Your team will continually grow because you have leaders rising up and bringing in a lot more people into your team attached to this vision and ideals. And what happens is all these people that come in, their unique take on this is what matters. And you have all these hundreds and thousands of people that are starting to repeat their unique take on this, but they're still referring back to Team in the Black, which is what they'll market, because they don't have all that infrastructure in place. So the role of the leaders is to create this vision, ideals, and directives and be in tune with their people and their following. Because if you can teach them how to be personality responsive, here's the good news. If you go and teach someone who's a newbie this stuff, and all of a sudden they have their tagline, and when they open up their videos, they're like, hey, my name's so-and-so, certified member of Team in the Black, and the creator of this formula, or this directive, or this movement. And the movement may be a movement of one, with one idea, and it's you. All that means is you now have a conversation piece, and you have an ability and an opportunity to now relay that unique take to the person you're marketing to. And they hear that, and they're like, wow, I want to join that person because of their unique take and their personality. I trust them, and you know what? They have responsiveness, authority, and credibility because they're a member of Team in the Black. So in any case, I still have all of that, and they're my bridge to getting that credibility. So you act as the bridge. And so when you teach people to do that, they're going to bring in a lot more people, and guess what? Because they're personality responsive and not system responsive, they stick around longer. They upgrade more. Now, how do I know this? For anybody who has sponsored more than 100 people inside of Empower Network, without any pass-ups, my customer value, front-end customer value, I'm not even talking about lifetime customer value, that's off the charts, way above anybody else, per many people I've brought in. My customer value is around $1,400 per person that comes in on the front end. That's how much I make when I make a blog sale. Because I understand how to create personality responsive people. They stick around, and they don't all upgrade at first. They upgrade over time. Because I'm building that trust and that unique take, and they learn to love me, and they learn to want to be around, and no matter what, even when I talk for 3 hours on a hangout. See what I'm saying? So if you do that, then they respond to you. My upgrade rates are also the highest per 100 people sponsored. Now, the reason I say per 100 people sponsored is because I checked down at the office, and there's this kid, and some of you might know him by the name of AK Jr., okay? And he hasn't hit 100 people sponsored yet, and his customer value is way higher because he's actually, prospecting people, like phone calling, phone prospecting. Totally different deal than me marketing to somebody on the internet. Completely different business model. To me, they're apples to oranges. It's still sales, but it's apples to oranges in terms of its effectiveness. And if you're really good at that, then do that too. But what I'm saying is, my results, my credibility right here, 22% all in. 25% up to at least the 15K internet traffic formula. Average front-end customer value of $1,400. Lifetime customer value, that's more over $2,000. I know this works. And I'm not saying that to sit here and say, hey, I'm awesome. I'm saying these things I'm teaching right here is directly related to the reason why I've been able to do that. Because I could unify people under my vision and ideals. And everybody, I supported their highest path. One of my ideals was, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, I want to support you on your highest version of yourself, whatever that is for you. So however you see that, you speak that message. And that's what people did. And so we had, for the amount of people that came in, a very high retention for a very long time. Now, obviously, you need to make sure that systems aren't broken forever, which, we've had some systems that have needed to be fixed. A lot of people don't know that we had cart abandonment issues with security over the last 8 or 9 months, which have caused a lot of the issues where people were like, man, I'm sending traffic and the Empower funnels are not working so well. Well, in all reality, guys, there's about 40,000 new people that come into the business opportunity space every month. And if you have a working funnel, your personality and your marketing is what's going to help you capture a bigger piece of that pie. And we had some security issues that, if you wanted to join, you had to be really committed. I mean, you had like 5 layers of security because we had all these scammers in Brazil, running these fraud rings. And so we had all this security. Like, I'll tell you guys, Empower lost like $300,000 this year just in fraud rings. Yeah. Cart abandonment was at like a 97%. Industry average is 70%. And cart abandonment means people who filled out part of it, we call them partials, and then don't finish because they're having trouble because the security system says you didn't put in your middle initial or you didn't put in the number symbol before your unit number and your address for your billing address and all that stuff. If it wasn't perfect, you had problems. You had to do all this verification and you had to do all this stuff, and people would just quit. They would give up. Now we fixed that just recently. So you're actually going to see things work a little better than before. So you may not have known that. And as long as you have stuff that works, people are going to join you, not necessarily the system. And you see people coming back full circle. People are like, oh, well, if they join me, then I have to be awesome. No, you don't. What you bring them has to be awesome. You see, I have multiple brands. Right now, I can get on a video and be like, and I can say, hey, this is Chris Rocheleau, founder of the Next Level Mastermind Intensive and creator of the forthcoming product, The Art of Story Selling, where we teach people how to sell stuff through stories or whatever, sell their products and services through stories. I can sit and talk about, co-founder of the Next Level Mastermind, where we, mastermind ideas and help people do this, this, and this, these benefits, yada, yada. I can get on and say different things based on what I'm teaching. So, here's a guideline for you. Make your unique take specific to what you are selling. Okay? So, let's say the top producer formula. When I started to market that, I said in my sign-off line, top producer certified. Now, what does that mean? Whatever I want it to mean. Because I bought the product and I went through it. I feel pretty certified. I feel it. If you don't feel that way, then don't say it. But what I'm talking about is I could very easily say, the top producer formula, there's a certain set of benefits I see in the top producer formula, and that is, recruiting like a madman and building a large team and lots of residual income. Well, I could take those 3 words and make them in an acronym and do the same damn thing I just did here. Just like that. And you have your unique take, your unique thought that people go, well, what's that whole, he's certified? What's that mean? Well, I want to know, he must know what he's talking about. And that's for them to decide when they finally choose to opt in, look at your marketing, and ultimately choose to join you. So for the blog, for a long time, my sign-offs were, founding member of Empower Network and co-founder of Team Be the Change. Because I was a founding member, because I was one of those first 30-something people in the room a long time ago. So I was able to do that. But you can very easily say whatever descriptive word you want that is not lying. I'm not advocating misleading people at all. You should know that by now, those of you who know me. But what I can say is, I can say, member of Empower Network, certified member of Empower Network. What does that mean? You got a blog, So once you have that, it's putting shape and solidarity and descriptive words around what it is you're promoting. So does that make sense? Anybody have any thoughts here real quick before I move on? Cool. Everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah. No, Chris, this is awesome stuff. I'm blown away. This is really incredible, unique branding information. That's essentially, what I think people don't really understand is that you have to create some kind of brand, regardless of what you do. Whether you're in a business, whether you're in this business, whether you have a bricks and mortar business, you have to create some kind of identity, and that's really where you're going. So that's and the whole idea of like top producer certified or whatever. That's incredible. That's really good stuff. So
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this has just been proven. I mean, this is just what I've seen. I've seen responsiveness like no other when I put myself attached to something that has more credibility than me, something that's larger than me, something that's not attached to just a person, and then my unique take on it is people are like, you know what, I resonate with him. I just resonate. Like, I just feel where he's coming from. People, you're just like Dave says, you're communicating whether you want to or not, and people feel you. So if you're not speaking clarity in your message, you may be miscommunicating what your intention is. And if that's the case, people go, something doesn't feel right. Especially if you're insecure about yourself, which you should not be, because you're already a part of a proven system that works, whether that be Empower, whether that be iPass, whether that be Team in the Black. So I hope this is making sense. So positioning is such a huge thing, because once you have the right position, it's easy to now get people to listen to you and take a look at your marketing, watch your videos, read your emails, read your blog posts, or whatever the case may be. And I've got a cool fact for you guys. You guys want to stick around here because I got a cool fact I'm going to tell you guys. A lot of people don't know about the blogs with Empower Network, and everyone knows about the cool stuff that's happening, but I'm actually going to tell you what we actually discovered that Dave didn't tell you on the State of the Network address. I think he actually just forgot. He kind of skimmed over, but I'm actually going to tell you the numbers on that and what happened, and the what some people would say was the largest tragedy we've probably ever seen inside this industry. And it's interesting. So, but before we get to that, I want to bring one last element to you guys about what I was talking about before, which is how you can apply this to any marketing that you're doing. So obviously, you want to be topic specific about stuff when you are in emails, or you are in your blog posts, or if you're writing a Facebook post or a LinkedIn post, or Pinterest, where you take a snapshot of your whatever post you're doing, whatever the case may be, YouTube video, whatever it is. There's a certain way to present information that people logically get, and I actually kind of thought this through, and then I went and verified it with like the top marketers in the world, and realized it's so simple and it's logical. However, why is it that nobody thinks of it? And no one just steps back and takes a look at that and goes, okay, well, if that's the way we think and ask questions about stuff, then why don't we present our ideas in the same way? So I'm going to give that to you now. And what I mean by this is, if you're going to have a video or a blog post, normally you have a certain set of ideas. Now, by the way, this is also how you eloquate your whole unique take on everything. But it also applies to anything you're going to talk about or teach, or any idea that you want to convey to people in any type of messaging. So this is universal. It's not just a blog post, not just an email, not just any of that, but it's actually how people receive information and how to give that to them in the right order so that they associate it, remember it, and learn it. So here we go. Let's take a series of ideas. So let's say you have a blog post and it's 3 things to increase conversions, right? 3 ways to increase goodness. it's a good thing I make money online, because, wow, yeah, my handwriting just doesn't even qualify for kindergarten. Anyways, so we've got an idea. We've got 3 ways, right? So Matt's like, I can't believe it.
No, it's okay. Just continue. You're good.
Okay, so 3 ways to increase conversions. So quick blog post or video or both or whatever. You put your video on your blog and on YouTube and everything else. And you come to them with 3 ways. So your 3 ways may be, split testing and the values set of your target market. So the values of your target market, what your target market values, and congruency in what you're teaching, congruency in your message, which, it's expectation conditioning is another word for it, which is known very well in copywriting. And so those actually are 3 different ways to increase conversions if you didn't know. But let's keep going with this. So there's 5 things that you do when you're going to convey an idea, okay? And so this first idea would be like split testing. And so the questions that when you say, hey, here's the first way to increase conversions, split testing, what's the first thing that someone asks? What is that? Okay, so what is it? What is it? And then they're like, okay, so what is that, but how does that work? So then the next question is, how does it work? Real simple. This is not rocket science. How does it work? Once you explain how it works, then you give an example, because people want to see what that actually looks like. Example. So what, how, example. Okay. And what does that mean? People want to know ultimately, what does it mean for them? It's the whole what's in it for me approach. What does it mean? Okay? What does it mean? So before I get to that, I'll finish. So then the last part is illustrate the whole thing with a story. So illustrate with a story. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, 1 and 5 are immovable. But 2, 3, and 4, if you mess it up a little bit, it's okay as long as you accomplish those 3. The most optimal way is to do it in that exact order. But if you give them an example right after what is it and then explain how it works, no harm, no foul. People still get it, right? But you're going to be clearer and more articulate if you have those 5 things. What is it? How does it work? Give an example. What does it ultimately mean for you? And illustrate it with a story. So let's go through this. Split testing. What is it? That's when you have multiple pages running the same traffic, finding out the conversions and the opt-in rates from, let's say, capture pages, if you're split testing capture pages. Okay, well, how does that work? Well, that's essentially testing the percentage of people that go in to each page, and you compare the 3 to see which one has the highest opt-in rate. What's an example of that? Well, I have a page that says, offers this particular benefit. It offers an ebook. And then I have another page that offers an ebook, but it has a different headline. And so I'm split testing the headline itself. And what I'm finding out is what people are more responsive to. Okay, cool, that's my example, right? And then what does it ultimately mean? What this means for you is that when you find out which capture page is more effective and has a higher opt-in rate, that means you can effectively lower your lead cost because you're getting more leads per how many hits you're getting to that page, which effectively lowers your lead cost, which effectively lowers your cost per sale and cost acquisition as well. That's what that means for you. And then people are like, oh, okay. And you say, so let me tell you about this. My friend, or I did a study where I did this actual page about this and this other page about this. I told my story in a long copy capture page, and I split tested that with just essentially my headline, my subheadline, and my open loop setting the stage part of my story. and then had an opt-in to read the rest. I split tested both of those to see which one worked better. What I noticed is I got a lot more opt-ins on that page that had less content, but the people that opted in over on the other page with more content, more of them actually converted on the back end, and my customer value was higher from that long copy capture page versus the leads I got over here. Because I gave them, what I surmised from that is I gave them more value on the front end before they actually had to take the next step, and they had a better expectation of what to get on the next page. That's the story. And that's a true story, by the way. So that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is how you eloquate a thought and teach something. You can do that in a video, you can do that in an email, you can do that in a blog post. The list goes on and on and on and on. You attach whatever strategy you want to it, but do that. Cool? I'm seeing nothing but smiles and everyone like, oh, holy shit. All right. So this concludes the training part of the segment. So everybody please sit up, tray backs and, seat tables and everything back up to their upright and locked position. And let's, prepare for landing as we take questions about any of this and the craziness that we just kind of reinvented here tonight. And any questions you guys got, we'll start with the leaders here. And if you have any other questions, put them in the comments and we'll address them.
All right, so Chris, what would you say to the people that are watching right now that have already created some type of shitty brand that they think was the way to go, and all of a sudden now you just blew their minds and made them feel like shit? What would you tell them? How do they go from crap brand to just throw it in the garbage and start anew?
Perfect. I was waiting for that one. I didn't expect it to be first, but thank you. Awesome. So this is how this works. Rob, let's say you had a friend that did you wrong. You had a friend that told you something and did something, and you kind of thought they were sincere about it, and then later it turned out that they didn't really know what they were talking about. If that person came to you and tried to defend themselves and say, hey, look, this is just, this is what I thought at the time, and, whatever, man, I'm good, and, I don't need you as a friend or whatever, then obviously you'd probably be like, this guy's an asshole, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So instead, if this person came to you and said, look, I've realized a few things. Now, for one, I'm sorry, because this is what I understood at the time, and so I was doing the best I could with what I had. But here's what I've discovered. And now that I know this, I want to give you the best of what I have now. And I want to be buddies, I want to be friends, and I want to give you what I got, and I want to be real and straight up with you. That's why I'm coming to you now and just being real and telling you what I've discovered, what I've realized, and how I've grown, and I just want you to see the best of what I have now.
Oh, I completely get that. It sounds like a similar email I just recently sent not too long ago. I'm sure everybody on the panel knows what I'm talking about, too.
Yeah. So whenever you've seen major things happen inside of Empower, have you not seen David Wood get on a call and basically just address things and be like, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I fucked up. Mm-hmm. Right? So what this really means, to distill this down, is you have to surrender the past brand that you had. You have to surrender the ego and the identity around it and humble yourself and go, okay, from this experience, I learned this. And this is the point, this is your chance and your opportunity to win them back by presenting your unique take on what you now understand. And what you're going to do is define your unique take with a certain set of visions, ideals, and directives that then define something outside of yourself. And you start referring to it as this thing, or the team, or the movement, or the mastermind, or whatever. And you draw that bridge in your apology, here's what I found out. I'm not perfect. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I've learned. And I want to give you the best of what I have now. Here it is. And because you're essentially saying, look, this ain't about me anymore. This is about this thing that you and I can both be a part of. They can't be mad at you. They can't poke holes in it because it's an idea. It's not a person. So as long as you start to point at a vision rather than yourself, this will happen organically. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a big come out and be like, hey, I fucked up. You can just be like, look, here's what I've realized, okay? Now, the awesome gal has now learned that there's certain awesome things about this particular brand, this particular set of ideas that we need to implement for everybody involved, and it's for the good of everybody. This ain't about me. And so I want to create this. Will you run with me and we can all be a part of this? Team in the Black, where we all start to build profitable businesses.
That's great, man. I really appreciate that. Well said.
I knew you kind of knew that, but you wanted to have that answered for everyone.
Absolutely, yeah. Very good. Anybody else?
Okay.
No, I mean, I think hopefully everybody's got a framework for building videos, blog posts, any kind of content. That's essentially the 5 points that you just made, and I think that's super helpful. That's super helpful for me because I think we kind of, when you do videos, for example, you sort of forget about ultimately what you're trying to achieve here, and so I think it's a good idea for everybody to just have that checklist before they start doing their videos, so that they can make sure that they're covering those specific items. And if they do, then, along with all the other awesome techniques that we've taught everybody, it should go really well.
I think so. I mean, I've used this. This is universal. I mean, John, this really is universal. This is not just in this industry, but this is in any industry, in any genre. And so keep that in mind. This is just the way things work when it comes to movement starting. A lot of the things that I've been getting into and studying recently is a lot about why people do things in mass and why people create movements and what makes movements work and what makes them not work. And so, that stuff becomes more and more crucial down the line as the team continues to grow. Because, right now it's such an exciting time. I remember when my team was at a point where it was, we were really in our heyday, and it was actually before our heyday, but we were really just, getting there, and we were so excited all the time because we had growth, we had everybody coming in, everybody was like, this is amazing, I love this vision, I love this idea, I love these values, I so resonate with this, I want to be a part of this. And what you find is over time, if you don't consistently refer back to that vision, ideals, and directives, and you teach people to have their unique take, you're always going to get a few of those people that are going to take it in a way that you never intended. Here's the good news. That's their problem, not yours. And for every one person that does that, there's 100 to 200 to 500 that are doing it the way you did intend. So what I found that is the demise of people building teams is when you let that one person control how you make decisions. There's always going to be that person of unscrupulous cojones that doesn't have integrity, that's going to come in with an intention of either ripping you off or disgracing your name or whatever they can do to tarnish you for their own personal gain. It's there. But it doesn't mean you have to give that energy, or that you have to give that any time. When people email you back and say, this is a scam, realize that's their problem, not yours. They don't understand. and you're not going to convince them otherwise. And so extract the energy, retract the energy from that, and focus on the 100 that, or the 200 or the 500 that are in alignment. And remember, that's simple math. I mean, us as marketers, we're amazing at not doing math too well at all. I mean, you got like one person that screws it up, and you have like 500 people that are awesome, that are like, this is the greatest thing ever. And you're worried about this one person, and there's no reason to. It's simple math. So don't get caught. Those are the idiots. Those are the freak shows. Those are the fuck ups. And that's their path. And you know what? One of my ideals in my team was to honor people on their path. And you know what that means? That person that acts like an ass, honor them on their path. We'll see you later. And that's all the energy they get. And I do it with class. I don't point the finger. I don't publicly humiliate them. I don't speak ill of anybody. Some of you can see in my facial expressions and some of the conversations we had before even the public hangout of my feelings towards certain people when we talk about the way things are going in this industry. And, some of the things you see happening that's just unfortunate. And although, I have certain personal opinions and feelings, I know that publicly saying that not only hurts me, but affects the people that I'm now giving negativity to as well. So it damages me and the people I'm talking to more so than the person I'm talking about. Which is why you see me essentially remove my energy from it and focus on where I can make a difference. Make sense? Cool.
Yeah, don't give the negative energy power. Don't give it the power.
Right.
Focus on what's important.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You guys got it. So, that's essentially what I got for tonight.